Welcome to my channel. We are hopeful that you will derive enjoyment from today's story. The woman seeks a trial separation. Her husband is making every effort to handle the situation as effectively as possible. The instant I entered the hallway, it was clear that Darla was distressed. She was standing in the living room, wringing her hands and shifting her weight from one foot to the other in a continuous motion. With 24 years of marriage under my belt, I am quite familiar with this behavior of hers, which signals that there is trouble on the horizon. Darla returned home from her work at the dental clinic, arriving 30 minutes before I did. Normally, she would use this time to start getting dinner ready and to change into her casual clothes. However, on this particular day, she was still in her work attire, and there were no enticing smells coming from the kitchen. When Darla deviates from her regular routine, it is an unmistakable sign that something is wrong. "Dick, we need to talk," she began nervously. "Of course, dear," I replied softly, sinking into the chair. Now the ball was in her court. "What's wrong?" "I don't have an easy way to tell you this, Dick, so I'll just blurt it out. I want a separation and possibly a divorce," she boldly stated. "I think a trial separation will be better, but with an understanding that it may lead to divorce in the future." "All right, dear," I calmly replied. "I'll pack my things immediately." As I got up and headed towards our bedroom, I noticed Darla's jaw almost hitting the floor. I suppose she expected more discussion and questions from me. Throughout our marriage, I never ceased to find pleasure in reacting to situations differently than Darla anticipated. And to this day, she remained surprised. She was the predictable one, not me. If my immediate acceptance of her desire for a separation caught her off guard, my return to the living room less than a minute later with two large and fully packed suitcases by the door made her stagger. I placed the luggage by the door, pulled a piece of paper from my pocket, and handed it to Darla. "Here's my new address and phone number. You can still reach me on my mobile. I have only one requirement regarding our separation. If you engage in any sexual activity with anyone other than me, we will immediately proceed with divorce. If you're just trying to find yourself, as they say, we can reconsider when you've done that. I'm not okay with just a few times of casual sex with no consequences or repercussions, and then allowing you to decide you want me back," I warned. "One strike, and you're out." Before Darla could speak, I pulled out my cell phone and dialed a number. "Becky, this is Dick. I was wondering if you'd like to meet me for dinner on Friday." "I know the answer, Dick," Becky laughed. "I'll be there with bells on, but I might forget the lingerie." I chuckled, hung up the phone, opened the door, and grabbed my suitcases. I left Darla stunned and silent in the living room as I safely walked down the path to my car. Although it wasn't a fancy dinner, Becky and I enjoyed a good steak before heading back to my apartment. She had just brought me to my third orgasm when the phone rang on the bed. Holding me in her cozy love nest, Becky leaned over and picked up the receiver. "Hello," she answered, holding her breath. "Darla, can he call you back in a few minutes? He's a bit tied up right now, and he needs to relax a little, but I think I can help him unwind. Be a dear and give him half an hour, or just in case the train arrives at the station a bit later than I expect. Would that be all right?" With those words, Becky hung up the phone and, with renewed energy, began to work on me again. I continued to squeeze her bouncing breasts as she worked to take me where I so desperately needed to go. "Damn," she exclaimed. "I never realized how arousing it is to talk to a woman when her husband's big tool is inside me. I think I'm about to enjoy it again." This time, I joined Becky in the finale. I waited a few minutes for my heartbeat to return to normal, and Becky hurried off me. Then I leaned over to the phone and dialed the number that had been mine hours ago, my home number. "Hello," Darla practically shouted, answering even before the first ring ended. "Is that you, Dick?" "Yes, it's me, Darla. Sorry I couldn't reach the phone when you called, but I called you back as soon as I was free," I replied, more than a little spontaneously. "What the hell is going on, Dick?" demanded Darla. "You had a place to stop already, and your bags were packed even before I told you I wanted a separation. Then I call your number to discuss our situation, and this answers my calls." She almost admitted she's riding you right now. "Let's just say I didn't want to be caught with my pants down this afternoon when you decided to tell me about your desire to separate. Being caught in the act minutes ago was far less pleasant." "Becky's not a really, at least I don't think so," I chuckled. stroking her smooth backside. I think I could have asked her about it if it's important for decision-making whether we reconcile or not. You bastard, Darla exclaimed. You told me we wouldn't have sex with anyone while we're separated. This is just a test. This isn't quite what I said, Darla, I objected. I told you that if you have sex with anyone else, we're definitely getting divorced. I never said anything about not having sex myself. You're a real piece of work, Darla snapped. How do you think you can play by different rules or even dictate them? If you can go out and have sex with someone, I damn well will have the right to sex too. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, and all that. Dick, of course you can, Darla said. I'm just telling you that it will lead to our divorce. I won't be a hypocrite, I declared. Then we should get divorced because you slept with that, right? Darla asked. I think we should file for divorce Monday morning. That seems fair, doesn't it? Not quite, Darla. Here's my take. You decided we should split. That meant you deprived me of my sexual partner against my will. You did this of your own volition. That's a huge difference. Plus, I told you earlier that we'd split if you had sex with anyone else. You never told me anything like that. Finally, despite all that's been said, you still have every right to file for divorce if you want to go ahead. It's that simple, I concluded. But I'm not sure I want a divorce, Dick. I just want some time apart to think about certain things, Darla insisted. Then there's no problem. We're separated. You have what you want, I concluded. But you can sleep with that crap, and I can't have sex, or you'll divorce me. That's unfair, Darla protested. Darla, I didn't ask for a separation. I didn't want this. I wanted to have my life and my wife just the way they were. Almost. You took that away from me. As a result of this separation, I want to say that I'm not going to go without sex because you have some chip on your shoulder. If it makes you happy, you can come here 3 or 4 nights a week, and I'll engage in sex with you. By the way, I don't plan on sleeping with every woman who could convince me to get into bed with her, I reasoned. And what kind of separation is this, Dick? I've never heard of a husband getting separated and the woman allowing the man to have sex with her just to keep him around. That wouldn't even be a separation, right? Darla demanded clarity. I haven't read the separation manual yet, Darla. I see now that I need to be more precise here. If you still decide to come and force me to sleep with you, be prepared for that. I'm firmly convinced that I won't allow your separation idea to limit my sexual appetite as our marriage already did. Now I understand and openly admit that I enjoy all these various sexual positions and actions. I don't want you lying there motionless for a few minutes as if you're making a greater personal sacrifice, and then you expect me to stop sleeping with real women. If you want to appear at my door to satisfy my sexual hunger, bring lubricant, lipstick, and whipped cream because I'll be engaging in sex with you in every possible way and in every place again and again, I promised. What's gotten into you, Dick? All I wanted was a trial separation to see if we'd stay married. In a couple of hours, you've turned into a sexual devil. You're rude, crude, uncouth, and vulgar. You've picked up somewhere and apparently slept with this trash. To hell and back, you've probably been having sex behind my back for years, Darla accused. Rubbish. I never cheated on you and never asked for a separation. I'm just trying to find myself right now, I retorted. I found myself with a woman with a big chest who's trying to caress me. We can talk again tomorrow, I joked, hanging up. Wow, Becky laughed as she took out my tool to take a few quick breaths. This conversation is really exciting. You've set the law for your wife. I didn't mishear. Did she call me trash? I've always been an observant person. It came naturally and was useful in many situations. It prevented many surprises that constantly befuddled most people. My wife, Darla, on the other hand, hardly noticed anything unless you hit her on the butt. Darla was very enthusiastic about a new dentist who came to the clinic where she worked. He was in the final stages of divorcing his wife, who was a cheating scumbag, yet Darla would almost elevate him to sainthood, at least according to Darla's perspective. Then a few weeks ago, Darla stopped talking about him. Any questions I asked were deflected. It was as if this new guy had fallen off the planet. Darla's silence on the matter intrigued me more than her constant chatter. Our phone was tapped, conversations were recorded, and her emails were forwarded to me. I hired a private investigator to find out what he could about the situation. Judging by all the evidence, a clear picture of seduction emerged. Dr. Burns, as he was called professionally, tried to get into Darla's pants. He was getting divorced because he did the same thing at his previous clinic. There were even a couple of his old patients who were close to accusing him of ethical violations. The guy was a scumbag. To Darla's credit, she managed to resist. She refused to cheat on her husband and end the marriage. That's when Burns started pushing her towards a divorce. He claimed that Darla wouldn't cheat if she were separated and had sex with him. Therefore, it was necessary for me to sternly warn Darla about having sex with anyone other than me if she cared about staying married to me. She would have to prevent that jerk from taking off his pants. Becky had been my coworker for only a few months, but we had become close friends. She was a widow and had recently been transferred to the West Coast to be closer to her daughter and grandchildren. When I explained my family problems with Darla to her and my plan to escalate the situation to a critical point, Becky quickly volunteered to be the other woman. Reading Darla's emails and listening to her phone calls, I learned that she was planning to announce the idea of a trial separation on Friday afternoon. It was easy for me to go home for lunch and pack a couple of suitcases. Then I moved into Becky's apartment since she had 2 months left on her lease. On Monday afternoon, she would fly to the West Coast, so we spent the entire weekend having sex like monkeys. I continued observing Darla seriously. I would have dumped her on the side of the road if she even pleased Burns. I was a faithful husband and a devoted father to our son and daughter. They had graduated from the local university and had good jobs in neighboring states. I wasn't going to be a cheater or some womanizer. I decided that if Darla wanted me back, she would have to convince me it was worth it. I wasn't going to beg her. Even if we managed to stay a married couple, the status quo wouldn't return. Anyway, I wanted more for my marriage than pity sex once every couple of weeks. I wanted a woman who was willing to meet my desires and sometimes even raise the stakes. I wasn't going back to a monk's life. I had just reached my apartment after dropping off Becky at the airport when someone knocked on my door. I was more than surprised to find Darla standing there, crying. I escorted her into the apartment and sat her down on the couch. I sat next to her and waited for her to speak. It took a couple of minutes, but eventually, she composed herself and told me what was bothering her. "Dick, I've been so stupid. It probably won't surprise you when I say that Dr. Burns has been persistently hitting on me for the past few weeks. You seem to know more about who I am than I do. He convinced me to ask you for a trial separation so we could have sex," Darla confessed. "He told me that if we were separated, it wouldn't be considered cheating, and that you would even treat me better when I decide to take you back." Everything went completely off script. You were ready, your bags were packed, a place to stay, and even to sleep with some scumbag. It was all set, and then I come up with my brilliant idea. I'll never understand this, it seems, but I've been thinking so much about what I'll do. But I should have known you would outsmart me by light years. When I called you on Friday evening, and that woman answered and almost admitted that you were having sex with her, I almost died. Then when you called back, I knew you had just finished doing it with her. It's horribly painful, Dick, Darla sobbed. I spent the entire weekend thinking about what you said. I gradually realized that you honestly outlined the situation for me. I was the one asking for a separation, not you. I planned to spend a few nights having sex with Ed Burns, and then I would have let you crawl back home. You would have been just an unconscious victim of my stupid scheme. Darla wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but she was always honest and open. That was one of the reasons why her recent actions caused so much alarm. She wasn't meant to be sneaky and cunning. It just wasn't her. It turns out you weren't an unconscious victim. Somehow you knew what I was planning and turned the tables on me in an instant. Everything changed, and now you were having an affair without guilt or remorse. I would have lost my marriage if I slept with him. I realized that you would somehow even know if I pleased him because you warned me. Finally, after hours of reflection and even more self-pity and tears, I realized what I was trying to do to you and to us. I even understood your quick and very effective reaction to my foolish, selfish, and completely undeserved actions. You got me good, Dick, but I deserved it. I decided to confront that good doctor this morning when he came to work. That he crossed the line, Darla concluded. So you just scolded him and expect me to forget everything, Darla? I asked. Should I forget that you were willing to risk our marriage because of some damn fool? That you were willing to put me through hell because some jackass wanted to get into your panties? Darla, you're a wonderful woman. There are plenty of men ready to have sex with you at a moment's notice. Do I need to worry now that you'll do this with every man who looks at you kindly?
No, Dick.
I didn't get rid of Burns this morning when he arrived. A couple of police officers were waiting for him in the parking lot. He was arrested and charged with rape and who knows what else. One of our patients, Mrs. Gunn, claims he harassed her and raped her while she was under anesthesia. The investigation prompted a couple more women to come forward with allegations of inappropriate behavior on his part. He's in deep trouble, Darla grimly smirked. He's a piece of work, and I risked everything for him, Dick. I can't say I'm surprised, Darla. It was pretty obvious to me that he was a cunning hound with the sensitivity of a street cat. Now he's out of the picture, and you think I'll forget everything?
No, Dick. Darla slowly replied.
I hoped you would keep your word if you hadn't lied to me. I've never lied to you, Darla, and I always try to keep my word. I just don't understand what you're talking about. You told me I could come here 3 or 4 nights a week and just have sex with me. You said it would save you from having to persuade other women to share your bed, Darla asked. Yes, now I remember mentioning something like that when you brought it up. I also told you I wouldn't go back to what we had. You'll have to actively participate, not just lie there and let me use your body. It doesn't appeal to me, especially after experiencing exhilarating and enjoyable sex where we're both partners, actively trying to pleasure each other. I'm sorry if that offends you. I think I understand what you mean, Dick. Maybe you can help me learn to be more responsive. I'll do everything that jerk would do for you, and even a little more. I promise you that, Dick. If you promise me that you'll never see her or any other woman again, I'll be the jerk you want to be with or deal with. Becky was probably flying over Colorado at that moment and had no intention of ever coming back. I didn't know any other women who would let me use them, and I really loved Darla. So the decision was obvious to me. Agreed, Darla. I vowed there will be no other women as long as you are my personal jerk. I emphasized the word personal. I won't even allow you to flirt with another man without my explicit permission. No problem, Darla squealed. I can't believe you're willing to give up that other woman for me, but I'm so glad you did, Darla said. You won't regret this decision, Dick. I can't wait to become your little jerk and learn what I should have been doing with and for you for the past 20+ years, she added. Oh, here's further proof that I'm serious, my dear. Having made this statement, Darla rummaged through her purse, took out lip gloss, lubricant, and whipped cream, and put it all on the table. Darling, is there any specific order in which you want to use these products? Darla seductively smiled.